G'day guys, and welcome to Comics to Movies and More. I'm your host, Sean Keenan, and as always, I have my co-host, Stephen, here with me tonight. We've got an amazing guest on tonight. So we've got Oliver from Awaken on. So if you guys have watched the Kickstarter awards, they were the two guys that won the best newcomers. They've got an amazing stuff happening. We're going to be talking about government grants. We're going to be talking about their series. We're going to be talking about what they're doing with their series and extra stuff. So we've got a lot to cover tonight. So we're not going to talk about movies. We're going to give you lots of tips and tricks about Kickstarter, grants, and all of the above. So before we bring out our guest, I will bring out my co-host, Stephen. How are you tonight, mate?
I'm good. And look, there will be a Star Wars reference before the end of the show. You know it. We'll slip one in. So as if we're not going to talk about some movies. Come on.
I know. So, well, we've gone past Disney Day. So the next part is all the Star Wars announcements. So I'm super excited that I'll throw it straight out there now because I'm super excited. I'm a Mace Windu fan. I love Mace Windu, and supposedly Samuel L. Jackson has signed on to come back as a old Mace Windu in the Ahsoka in season 3 of The Mandalorian, and then the Ahsoka series. So
didn't he die though? Or?
Well, we didn't see him die. He got knocked out of a window. You know, we thought Darth Maul died at the end of the Phantom Menace. We thought the Emperor died at the end of Return of the Jedi. It just seems like everyone can fall from great heights and survive massive explosions and blowing up their stars and everything like that. So there's my Star Wars reference.
Just before we bring the guest on, have you seen Visions? Have you been watching that?
I did. I thought they were a little hit and miss. I loved the samurai one. I just thought that was absolutely phenomenal. So, I haven't watched Behind the Helmet, which is the new documentary on Boba Fett and everything. So that's the one thing that Star Wars that I haven't watched yet. So Visions I watched all in one sitting because they weren't very long. Yep. Just able to skip through all 13 episodes pretty quickly. So yeah,
awesome. Let's say hi to the chat first before we bring the guest on. So if you want to pop some. Hi, Sazigal. As always, look great to see you. And Chris. Good morning. Except we're in the future, so we're going to cross the morning in about 2 hours. So in 2 hours, it's a brand new day for us. So we're really excited about that too. The world hasn't ended, as we always, we like to tell people from different time zones.
Yep,
it's still okay. The world.
We're still here.
It's still turning.
And we've got Grace just chiming in. Hey, Grace, how you going? So also, actually, before we bring on our guests, I do just want to give a quick update on a couple of our projects. I wanted to let everyone know that Fractured Shards is finally printed. I should have that by the middle of next week. So super excited about that. Also, on top of that, because we printed Fractured Shards, I was able to squeeze in XCT Monsters on the same shipment. So I should actually have that next week as well. So I'll be fulfilling the digital rewards tomorrow, and then the books I'll be fulfilling 2 Kickstarters at the same time. So God help me. But awesome news for all of our backers and everything like that. But without further ado, let's bring out Oliver. He is one half of the Awaken team, the better looking half I do here. So how are we tonight, mate? How you going?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for that compliment. I feel great.
well, one has the comedy element and is the funny guy, and then there's the good looking guy. So
that's it. That's my title. Okay. Also,
I'm going to get me in trouble tomorrow, aren't I? Now,
pardon?
I'm going to be in trouble tomorrow now, aren't I?
maybe he'll never watch it. Let's see what happens.
He'll watch it. You're dead now. You're dead to him now.
Yeah.
Oh, look, let's get started because look, I've been really excited to talk to you guys because we did have you on for the ACAs, I think, a couple of months back. So we've been really excited to actually bring you back to talk to, and it's actually a great opportunity. So it's actually been a really wild ride for you guys because it's been a year. It's been less than a year. Let's call it. I think it's been 6-7 months, and you've got a very, very successful Kickstarter. And I know because I actually have talked to the Kickstarter outreach person, Oriana, and I think I've introduced it to you guys as well. So I know you guys are talking behind the scenes, but she was really impressed with your campaign. So to become the best newcomer for her was actually a absolute no-brainer. It was like, let's look at projects which are the first-time creators, and yours just honestly speaking really stood out. And you've also and I don't know for people outside of Australia, but Australia government grants are actually very, very supportive of a lot of different Australian creatives. And they even have a crowdfunding based grant, which I know you guys just picked up this year. So it's been a big year. Well, how's the whirlwind been? Hasn't even been a year. So how's it been? How have you felt it?
It's been really good. It's been really, really humbling to come into a space that we had never been in before, Kickstarter and really comics in a lot of way, and receive a lot of support from the community, and then also do well in our campaign was just really humbling and yeah, it felt really surreal. And getting that government grant as well has just helped us even more now for the second Kickstarter that we're planning to do. So it's when I really reflect on it, it's feel very blessed, very blessed, and a lot of support. And yeah, it's been fantastic. Really fantastic.
So, you guys just seem like sorry, Stephen. I was just going to say, you guys seem super genuine. Like that's the one thing that I think you guys absolutely ooze. That you seem really relatable. That you seem really genuine, and then you're actually really grateful on top of that. And I think you can't. I didn't know you guys before. We did the ACAs and everything, but like you've really endeared yourselves to me. Like I love following you guys on Instagram now, and thank you for the shout outs that you've been giving me. And I think that just speaks really highly of what you guys are creating and are producing. That you yourselves are both really nice, genuine guys that people can get behind and support.
You really pulling my heartstrings. I feel a little love. Thank you. We really, I'll speak for Will, even though he's not here. Yeah, we really do appreciate that, and we realized, I guess, just how much of the story is how much we're in the story, and how much when we're telling it, it's not just telling Zash's story, but his story is our story, and our story is his. So it's this kind of symbiotic relationship, and it just feels super right to be open with that and genuine and caring. And it's I'm glad that we're receiving so much love.
Look, Kickstarter tip number 1, and you probably heard this a million times. When are you getting the pre-launch out for issue 2? Because I would say, if you haven't already, start working on it, because every update, and this is where it's really important. So every and I see you guys, you're getting all this, like, here's this new character, here's a new picture. One thing when you're creating things, you want to be driving your viewers or your supporters to do an action. So you can go, check out this really cool character. Now click on the notify on the pre-launch link because it's going to come in the next couple of months. You might as well click now. So every time you show something new, you're actually driving an action out of your audience as well. And having that one action, it's like it's marketing 101. If you just show a product, it doesn't work. And I'll use the best Coke example. If you look at almost every single Coke ad, what are they doing? They're drinking the product. So it's driving that action going, wow, something I drink, I might as well buy something to drink. So it's one of those things that you show all this great artwork, you want to link it to that last step, which goes, check out this amazing story. Issue 2 is coming. Please click on the notify. And I think you're in a position now where it's really, really powerful to do so. Shaun, what's your take on pre-launches? Yeah, I know how you take, but it's something that's really powerful you can do.
Yeah, well, I just did a Kickstarter talk yesterday for Australian Comic Book Day, and the one thing that I said on that is that Kickstarter is, you're always learning. You never kind of, stop learning with campaigns and everything. And with my current one that's up at the moment, I found that I didn't use the pre-launch page probably to the best of its ability. And kind of probably rush from my last project to this project. So, you're always learning, as I'm saying. So for me, I think it's really important to get that pre-launch page up, get your backers and your community excited about that project, so that when you launch, that you can really have a big impact on day one type of thing. So, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do something which I'm actually also really excited to. So I've already read this part of it. So if Shaun, if you can bring up the actual images from the story, we'll let you run through it, because the initial prologue pages for your story actually tells what happens, which I absolutely love. It's one of those where you get dropped in like a history lesson. So would you like, look, I'll let you run with it and we'll ask you questions through it, but we'll scroll through the images and, man, tell us the story about it. Tell us the story about Awaken.
Sure, of course. This is interesting too, because this was kind of, when we started this was a vision that Will had, how he'd like to start the first comic or episode off. And we weren't really sure. I wasn't really sure at the start. I was like, do we want to start with him, being so much older and having this prologue, or should we just go into it? But, one of the beautiful things about working with Will is he's quite a visionary. And when he sees something, he's like, we got to do it this way. I see it so clearly in my mind. We have to do it. And this was it. So, Zesh, older Zesh, monologuing about where he is now and what's happened in his life and what's happened to the world to kind of bring him here as well.
Can I stop on this one point? And I know this is actually something, and I don't know whether you did it intentionally, but if you did, I'm very impressed. But it's actually a standard practice for, it's a comic book, it's almost a comic book trope now. You start off with a wordy-ish page 1 because of the page flip. I don't know if you know what a page flip is, but in comic book terms, every odd page is actually more important than every even page, because imagine how the book is set. So page 1 is the first thing you see. You're always trying to get the reader to flip the next page. That's why every odd page is more important, because even page, if you think about it, you've already flipped the page. It's already at the next page. But every odd page is the one they actually have to turn. And they call that the page turn. So it's actually something that's actually very, again, if it's intentional, kudos to you. If it's unintentional, well, more kudos.
Well played.
Yeah, because
I'll just take the credit, boys. It was so.
Take the credit. But story writing wise, you start off with a wordy page, but you end it, I know you can't, I don't know if people can actually read the words, but ended up with a little bit of a cliffhanger. You flip the page, this gorgeous 2-page spread where you don't know what's happening. And if I was seeing this on, say, page 2 and page 3, I'm flipping that page. And I don't 100%. Know if you've intentionally done it, because it's a lot of first-time creators don't do that. They don't understand how page turn works. And because they don't understand how it works, things get a bit mishmash, the pacing's a bit off. But I have to say, your first 3 pages, pacing is absolutely spot on.
Thank you. I wish that I could credit and say it was part of our mastermind plan, but we are incredibly fortunate to work with our artist Chris, and he is just absolutely phenomenal from day one. When we sent him the script and he broke it all down, and some of these ideas, these are his, and we're just so fortunate to work with him and his kind of ability to express the story and just have these page turners and come up with these scenes. I can't take the credit. I've got to give it to Chris, but it's a beautiful spread.
Now I have to ask, being the writer and creator of the series, are you and it sounds like you are, but are you open to letting the artist like play around and do something like this by like saying adding in an extra page, or editing the way he does the panels to what you say? Or are you pretty much like, no, this is how I see it and I want it to play out?
That's a good question. It's very kind of give and take. Fiske and I understood that the creative process needs to be a kind of fluid one, and as much as it's our story, Chris is creating it, so we have to kind of share with him the vision of Awaken. So stuff like this, there's only like maybe a handful of scenes that we say to Chris, it just has to be like this panel. We just have to be like this. We've seen it like this for years. But 80% of the rest we say, like, we love your touch. We want your flavor in this. Do what it is you're going to do because we love it. So a bit of both, I guess. But we really respect that symbiosis that we have to have with our artist.
Yeah, I have to say, like, Stephen's really good at, there'll be like the dialogue scenes where he's like, okay, this is how I want it. But then it gets to an action sequence and it'll be like, okay, I want 4 pages, but I'm going to let you have fun with it and do whatever you want, as long as it starts like this and ends like this, and let the artist kind of have a bit of fun with it. And I think that's kind of cool, and to be able to give the artist a little bit of a say in the story as well, considering like they spend so much time on it, is a really kind of cool way to collaborate with someone.
Just on that point as well, I think action sequences, most times I would just give it to the artist. I'll give them the beats. For example, let's say there's 5 guys attacking somebody. You say, hey, look, he takes down 1 guy first and then 2 separately. And, you give the beats of what happens in the fight scene. But I'm not a fight choreographer. You know what I mean? I don't dictate, look, you need to look at this angle or whatever. If you do too much, it becomes I find it very too methodical. You want it, especially with fight scenes, you want it a bit more fluid, a lot more, give them a bit of room to breathe. And what you find is most artists will surprise you when you show them, oh my God, I can do whatever angles I like. I can do whatever perspectives I like. And they will surprise you. That's why I always give fight scenes away.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep scrolling on, because so this is the history behind the world. I don't know if you can zoom in from here, Shaun. If you can, zoom to the page. I think Control and then go up. But tell us the history of the world, because you actually drop a lot of knowledge here, sir, in the double page panel.
Yeah, well, I guess they're floating through space on this chunk of Earth, so we thought we should give away some information so that how we got to this point. And we wanted to have that bit of that environmental message too about the Earth and how precious it is, and we don't want to be ending up like Frocia. We don't want to be floating in and through outer space without a planet, so we should care for it. And so we try to really put those environmental messages in there as well. But two, we liked the idea of having a storyline of Zesh when he was back in a past life at this point as well. So we're trying to kind of show you what happened, but also later on tease that, like, hey, Zesh was here during these events too as another character as well. So telling the world, but also setting up as well for something in the future to explore this period, because it's, we just want to tell the story everywhere we can.
So I guess if people don't know what Awaken is, can you give us just like a couple paragraph pitch type thing of the actual story?
Sure. So Earth's been destroyed, and what's left of Earth is a little island called Feracia, and that is floating through space. We have a form of advanced technology which is keeping everybody alive in the city, and it follows the life of Zesh, who is a young boy growing up in this sci-fi dystopian world, trying to kind of find his way in this weird and similar but also different kind of future. So, yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Do you find like this is end of the world stuff, but it's and I have read bits of it already. It's very optimistic. So I noticed you didn't take a very, the world is screwed. They're hanging on by a thread and that type of message. It's very optimistic. It's actually really happy. So, was that intentional? Like, what did you base it off when you did it?
I think Will and I are through and through optimists at the end of the day. And so, having hope and having faith in the human condition, that is kind of the message we wanted to kind of send through, that, we can really survive everything, and we can make it through, and whatever happens, we can still thrive, is a real important part as well, But, there are some as well. There are some kind of darker themes that are touched on in the story as it goes on, and the world that they're living in is revealed to kind of be a bit of a dark place as well, with a lot of chaos and coercion as well. So we kind of slowly bring that in too. But yeah, at the start, it's beautiful colors, nice and bright, and very optimistic.
So you're so different to me. My wife hates watching movies with me because I'm like, I would have killed the hero here, and had it end like that. This is like so unrealistic. It's like that happy ending. She's like, yeah, that's what I like. Why do you want to kill everyone all the time? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, part of too, we because we got asked that question a lot with the storyline and the main villain. It's why doesn't he just get rid of Zesh right now? If we've got this conflict, why doesn't he just kind of do it now? So we've been scheming for months, like, all right, how do we put it in the story so that something obvious like that can't be the solution? So that's been really fun too, because that is unbelievable sometimes when you're watching something, you're like, why wouldn't he just do this right here? What's the so we'll keep that believability as well.
I have to say, I really love the art style. It's like a cross between that anime and Western style type of thing. It's like a really good kind of mesh of the two. Was that something specifically that you were after for this project, or did you just happen to stumble across the artist? What was that process like?
It's been such an interesting process finding Chris, who is our artist, and working with him. We found him maybe 2 years ago, and I think it was on DeviantArt or Fiverr or something. And we were looking for some big scene work. We wanted done some big pictures of Zesh and Devola fighting. And we just thought his artwork was beautiful. We were just drawn to it. And then we kept using him, and we could see that he was also interested in the story, and we really wanted someone to work with who was actually invested. And we eventually just said to him, hey, like, do you do comics? And he's like, of course I do. And it just worked. And his style, there's something about it. It's very, it's that blend between a kind of like a traditional anime and a cartoon. It rides the middle. It's very pretty.
Yeah, that's what I loved. It's like it's not something where I just straight away off the bat went, I've seen that before. It actually drew me in, because I'm like, I actually want to see more of this, because I actually don't know what I'm looking at. It's a little bit of, as I said, that anime. It's a little bit of that Western comic. It's a little bit of like a cartoon type of thing. It's that, and it sits beautifully in between all of that. Like if I go back up to that double page spread, like that is just absolutely beautifully drawn, and the colors are amazing. Do you have a separate colorist, or does Chris do the colors as well?
Yeah, we do have a separate colorist. His name is February, and he's been really fantastic as well. And he kind of there's something we like, the vibrancy, like the pinks and the purples and the kind of spacey tones. And so we've been using him as a colorist too, and he kind of gets that and makes it. That vibrancy is just so important. It just makes the comic feel alive.
Oh, look, the one, and again, I have seen a little bit more. And I'll spoil a story for you a little bit for people out there. So it does center around 4 main characters. And they're very much in the high school age. And you say about 16, 17-ish?
Yeah.
Was that what you're aiming for? So the one thing I did notice is, and you're going to get this comparison, it was very much to Avatar, because Avatar was an American production, as you probably can imagine. That also wrote the line between, Americanisms, as well as a lot of the manga tropes as well.
Yeah.
Did you take a lot of influences there? Because I know there's 4 main characters, and in Avatar there is also the 4 main characters. Toph, Katara, and all the rest of it. Was that intentional as well, or is that something that you're trying to give a more homage to as well? Was that any part of the thought process?
Yeah, I guess being a lover of Avatar, and
it's spectacular. Except for the movie. If you like the movie, we're booting you straight away. By the way,
I love the movie.
Oh. Don't even give me a start on the movie.
No.
I'm joking. It was almost as good as the live-action Dragon Ball Z movie.
Oh gosh,
they just never work. They just never look good.
I've got to do this rant. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh no.
It started. So the Netflix Avatar, they've just cast Uncle Iroh. I don't know if you heard that one. And I can't remember the guy's name, but I saw a photo of him. He's the absolute perfect casting. So you had this M. Night Shyamalan given the helm of a beloved franchise, absolute beloved franchise. And you've actually had in the original Avatar world a very diverse cast. You had the Inuits for the waterbenders, and it was very, very diverse. And the first thing he goes, you know what? Stop all that. Fire Nation. I'm going to make them Roman Indians. Why? I don't know. It had nothing to do with the source material. It had nothing to do with it being. And again, I don't mind directors being transformative. And actually, I was having this huge discussion about Game of Thrones before we got on, that the screenwriters for the initial seasons did a really good job translating the source material into the TV series. Things which were too spectacular, they cut out, and things which were more grounded, they brought in. So they did a really good job of it. And we will not talk about season 7 and 8. They do not exist for me. So we'll get to that part. Sorry.
But I was going to say, if you look at M. Night Shyamalan, he would be the last person I would give something like that to. Like, you look at the work that he's done, and before he got that opportunity, and you just look and go, why would you give that to him? It doesn't seem like a fit for that type of movie at all. So
it wasn't. Yeah. It was horrible. And he spent the first, and again, bringing back the Fire Nation thing. So he just decided to make them based on Roman culture. So he had a lot of the Roman dress, that fashion sense, and made them all Indian. And you're just going, that added nothing to the story. It probably annoyed a lot of the original fans who were going, that's not what I recognize it to be. And there was no purpose to it. And that's the thing that really irked him more than anything else. Now, if he actually introduced an element where he goes, this is why I did it, because it made sense here, I would have gone, you know what? I'm willing to listen. But if you listen to the stuff he said about it, it was you know what? I just wanted to be casted into it. So I decided I want to slip in as a Fire Nation person. So I decided to make them all look like me. And that was his reason. And when I heard that, that's
a good enough reason.
No, it's not. If you're the director, you want a cameo. You don't change everything about things just so that you can have a cute cameo. It was.
Can you imagine if Peter Jackson did that and was like, "I'm just going to make hobbits all look like me"?
Yeah, bearded and stuff. I'm sorry, my rant is over because I'm sorry. Back to you. So I'm really sorry. So was there a lot of influence about the Avatar anime? I'm assuming because the movie I hate.
They're not. I don't think in any real kind of conscious level, but definitely there are subconscious elements that we've taken from just being a fan and appreciating the kind of humor that is in Avatar, the lightheartedness, but also kind of the seriousness too we took from. I'm a really big fan of Naruto as well. Absolute. I love it. I just love the character arcs and the power and all that kind of stuff. So we really just try to take from absolutely everywhere. So Avatar, Naruto, Afro Samurai, like anywhere we could, anything that inspired us, we just thought, just grab it and just chuck it in. And how can we, synthesize this into something new and something unique? And, it's very hard to make something completely new because we're always drawing from ideas of previous people. So, in that respect, definitely inspired at a big level.
I think it's quite funny how like watching cartoons as kids, like how much it influences like certain things about you or what you create. Like I always find that I have to have like a moral to a story. And I always go back to like the He-Man and everything like that, where after every single episode, it was like, okay, well, what was the moral of this episode? It was, Skeletor lied and he got, called out for lying and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I find subconsciously that gets written into what I do or when I'm creating certain things, it always comes back to, well, what's the moral that I'm trying to get across there type of thing. So it's funny, when that generation changes and the what you watch changes, from generation to generation, how then that influences that next generation on what they create and everything. So.
But one of the things which, you mentioned Naruto, and look, you can kind of see a lot of elements in it. So that's why I think your story is going to be fantastic. And again, having read some of it, I'm really, really excited when you've told your story, or at least you get down to the next part of it. That's why, and this is now a segue a little bit into issue 2 and a little bit into Match Lab, because look, disclaimer, I'm an alumni of Match Lab. I was actually part of the first Match Lab, so I always speak very highly of it, and I always say, look, to everybody, please, if you haven't done so already, apply, because there is so much you do learn from it. How have you found the experience of applying? And congrats on winning, but how have you found the experience of applying? And this was your first grant. Was it daunting? How do you find it all?
Thank you for the congratulations. It felt super good to get it.
Yeah.
I guess one of the best things about being in a partnership is having Will to bounce off and having that creative partner. So, when I'm making an application, we're kind of making it together. And so in that respect, it wasn't too daunting because, I've always got my, best pal next to me, and we're kind of, I'm kind of stuck here. And he's like, I'm good at this part, so let me write this. And I'm like, oh, sweet. And then I'll come in later and then I'll write the next part. And so in that respect, it wasn't, we didn't find it that difficult. And it felt like too, we've been writing this story together and talking about it for, 4 or 5 years. So when we got to kind of put it all into the Match Lab application, it was kind of like we were just rewriting what we've already been saying and applying to for so long anyway. So in that respect, it was nice. It really fit into quite neatly what we had already been doing. So that was, it wasn't too daunting.
Yeah, so if people don't know what Match Lab is, Match Lab is an Australian government grant that matches a Kickstarter or a crowdfunding platform. So you can raise a certain amount of money and then the government will match that, hence the name Match Lab. So you have to run it in a certain period of time. It's up to a maximum, I think, of $5,000. Is that That correct? Yep. It gets released either once or twice a year as well. So, as Stephen said, he's gotten the grant before. I believe Anthony Cristo has gotten it as well. So there's been a couple of comic graphic novel guys that have gotten it. But it is, like, you make it sound so easy, Oliver, but it is quite a quite a sought after competitive grant to go for. So you do seem very humble, but it's extremely it's not an easy thing to get. So congratulations again, mate.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. And doing, once we did it and we got in, and because you do a 2-day workshop, once we realized all the other artists that were in there, we thought, oh, damn, this is like, it's a pretty intense bunch of people all in here. So that felt really nice as well.
Awesome. Look, there's also an opening it up to greater grad discussion, especially if there's any Australian creators listening to this after the fact. There are a lot of really good grants out there. And my only advice, and I've applied for quite a few different grants, some I've got, some I haven't got, is really read the brief. That's probably where a lot of people get caught out. Is Match Lab, for example, is a crowdfunding grant. So you have to talk about crowdfunding. And if somebody doesn't talk about crowdfunding, you know what I mean? There's no point. And they are specific grants, which, for example, if you apply for a local government grant, and I actually applied for one recently, and unfortunately, I didn't get it, but I actually asked for feedback afterwards. And one thing they said was, "Oh, we loved the idea, we loved everything about it, but you didn't really address how it helps the council, how it helps the council strategy." And I was saying, and when I was talking to the reviewer, and they're usually really nice, and I said to the reviewer, "But I'm trying to create a graphic novel. I don't see why I should be linking it to council's vision." And then the reviewer said to me, "That's why you missed it, because you have other people who, as far as their projects go, may not be as exciting, may not be as well developed as, say, your idea, but they hit the council brief, sustainability, recycling. Did you mention any of those things?" I'm going, it's a graphic novel. I don't know how.
It's a Captain Planet graphic novel. Come on, mate.
I know, exactly. Oh, exactly. And the thing is, that's what they wanted. They wanted you to include the council vision into it. Yeah. And I was going, I'm telling a story. I have to fit recycling in there. If you want our money, you fit recycling into there. That's probably the best advice I can go and apply for grants. Read what they want, and sometimes what you want to do will not fit the grant you're applying for. It sometimes doesn't match. And so unfortunately, I'm not writing a recycling graphic novel. So until I do, I don't think that grant's right for me.
Yeah.
No, do we want to talk about the other exciting projects that they've gone? So they've smashed Kickstarter. They've gotten a Match Lab grant, so they don't want to stop there. They want to continue on creating, and they've decided to go into, of all things, a trading card game. So, Oliver, tell us a little bit more about this, mate.
Well, we were thinking about, like, what rewards do we give people? What, we're kind of spitballing, and I can't remember if it was Will or I, but we're like, what about trading cards? What about, like, making some trading cards? And we both like, I've played a bit, my fair share of Yu-Gi-Oh, and Will's played a fair share of Pokemon TCG, and so we thought, well, we kind of know how to play them, so maybe we can. And so we we made a few mock cards, and we thought about the rules a little bit, and we're like, what'll work? What do I like from Pokemon? What don't I like? What do I like from Yu-Gi-Oh? What don't I like? And try and synthesize that into a game that kind of takes from those games and makes it into something new. And it's just so fun to have a Devola card and a Zesh card, and, like, the main characters. Just makes it so much fun.
Can you give us a bit of the mechanics, like I like Magic. I play Hearthstone. I actually played Pokemon and the rest. I did go through a card game phase where actually anything that was there, and I still play Hearthstone. I would love to know the mechanics. How does it work? Is it a 2-player game? Is it a multiplayer? How have you set it up to be?
Yeah, well, I'll do my best to describe without butchering this. But two players, each get a deck of 40 cards. No more than 2 of the same kind of card.
Yep.
You have what we call karma points. So you start at 10, and you need to get your karma down to 0. And by defeating a card, you will remove karma. So if we look at the cards up here, we can see a 5 on the main yellow card. So if you were to defeat that card, you would remove 5 karma from your 10. And whoever gets down to 0 first wins.
Yep.
There's an energy system as well. So, when we were playing Pokemon, I really liked the idea of, having to draw out energy cards to make moves. But we always felt like we were sick of searching our deck for the energy cards. So the way the moves operate is at the end of every turn, a card can meditate, and they get a meditation point, which can be used as a move. So some moves will cost 3 meditation, one move might cost 1, and then the move may also remove the meditation after or may keep it. So you're kind of trading on that. That's the kind of energy system. You have 1 card, 2 active fighters, and 3 on the back line. And item cards as well. And that's the...
So have you actually built, because with most trading card games, you probably do need, imagine, a core set of close to 100 different cards. And again, just a rough number. Have you actually built up those 100 cards and the mechanics behind those 100 cards, to get the core set going? Or is it
we've got about 50 at the moment, and we've been playing, and it's really funny because we'll be playing, and I'll use a card, and there's some, because the rule, we're still getting the rules of this, there's a bit of ambiguity about what this rule is, and I'll go to use this, and it'll mean, no player can meditate next turn, and we'll go, well, does that mean no player, I can't use an item card to get meditation points? And me wanting to win, I'm like, yeah, it means that, so it'll work for me. And he goes, well, I don't know if the rule's that we should make it the way so that he can win that turn. So we kind of get to these points where we're playing, we're trying to bend the rules so that we can win. But we've been slowly playing more and more and more to make sure that that is balanced, that isn't too overpowered, or hey, this move is ridiculously strong. We can't have we have to nerf this, and
So with the trading card, is that going to be part of issue 2's Kickstarter, or are you going to do a completely different Kickstarter and solely based around the game?
I think we're thinking at this point of doing a solely a standalone Kickstarter for the card game. We are giving out a few exclusive cards in this Kickstarter that just passed, our first one, that some people will get our backers, and in the second Kickstarter for the second edition we'll also throw in some exclusive cards as well, but yes, a little bit further down the track we'll actually release a Kickstarter for the whole set.
That's a great incentive to get people to come back, especially if they're into cards and all that. It's like, well, if I back the Kickstarter and I'm going to get this exclusive card that I know whoever I'm playing against is not going to have that card in their deck. Hell yeah, let's get that. So
it's so funny. I'll be saying to Will, we should make this card super OP so the backers get this super juicy card. And he's like, no, it's unfair. We can't do that. I'm like, no, let's just throw one in.
Let's do that. Yeah, I'm with you, mate. I'm with you.
That's so Yu-Gi-Oh, by the way.
Exodia or something, But
10 karma points, you just bang, just straight away. One card.
That's actually a real... I don't know if you heard this funny story, but the granddaddy of all trading card games is Magic the Gathering. You probably know.
No, I never heard of it.
Know this. No, of course not. But they actually made a mistake with the wording. There was a card called Time Walk, which the whole idea behind Time Walk was that the opponents, they miss a turn. So you have, you Time Walk, you skip their turn. So you basically get 2 turns in a row. But they phrased the card, target player loses the next turn. So it could mean that, they miss a turn. But if you look at the words exactly, target player loses next turn, that means you win. So as soon as you play this one card, you win the game because you're telling your opponent loses next. And that caused like a lot of arguments. So make sure you get a good editor who is a grammar Nazi on it, because what you think, oh, he's just going to lose a turn. Don't worry. No, but he loses the next turn. That means he's gone. He wins the game. So just make sure, because they went through a lot of teething issues magic before they fixed it all up.
That's all part and fun of the games, mate.
Yeah, it is.
Doing that. I've worked with Liam. He did a Monster Lab game, which was kind of like a mashup of monsters and how that worked and everything, and just listening to how he goes about it and all the issues that you have, playing the mechanics like you'd be playing with friends and family and that, because it's like, if you just play against Will, you guys know how to play it, so you kind of are doing that. So when you start testing it on people that don't play games, and that's where the fun really begins.
So what other projects are you working on? And look, I won't spoil it. I'll let you explain it. I heard there's a coloring book coming. I heard there's, again, because I follow you guys.
You know everything.
I researched my guest.
In a second, I'll tell you. Like,
I researched my guest.
You know all the exclusives before me. I'm just like, I'm not liking this, Oliver. Not at all.
It's on their webpage. I'm not stealing anything. But tell us all the new projects that you're doing.
So yeah, there's a coloring book that's called Shapes. Well, it's a children's book actually, that Will's been working on solo for a few years now. So he's been working on that, and that's more his kind of project, but it's under the projects that we work together, and so that's been really cool and been getting a lot of artwork done for that. We've got another kind of comic book idea, like a comedy in the works called Lords on the Piss, which is like a Lord of the Rings kind of parody, which is super, super fun to write and super, super cheeky. And it's so different from writing Awaken, because there's some serious philosophical issues here and we want to kind of express stuff. But in, Lords on the Piss, it's jokey and so that's been really fun as well. And then issue 2 as well, just trying to really refine the script for that, so that when we send it to our artist Chris and he breaks it down, we can be ready. So we're trying not to overload ourselves with too many projects, but so many juicy ideas come through sometimes. You just want to get them all done.
Have a schedule. That's second big advice is, and the other thing would be is, if you can, look, it gets difficult. If you can maintain separate creative teams as well, it tends to work really well, because for example, me and Shaun will work on different projects, but I would use the artist from one project to do a pinup for that project, and the artist from this project to do a pinup for that project. And by using different artists, you also give a lot of, you reduce their downtime a bit, because the one thing you don't want to do is, let's say you stop giving Chris work, your project's finished, and you don't give him, you're making issue 3, which means you're writing it, but the artist doesn't have time. There's no work from due right now. What they'll tend to do is they'll tend to find a different project, which means when you're ready to engage him, he may not be available. He might say, oh, look, I'm finishing this other project. I'll be free in 3 months. So you're always trying to give that continuity of work, whether it's pinups, whether it's card games. It's the same artist, I'm assuming, for the card game artwork too. Is that Chris as well?
Well,
or have you been using somebody else for that?
A little bit of both. Will is, and this is an interesting point sometimes, Will loves the idea of like having alternative artwork for any card we can get. Like, he's such a big Pokemon card collector, and it is nice seeing, Pokemon done a different artwork. So the base set will be done by Chris, but we like to have kind of get different artists in to do a different, rendition of Zash or Devola. So like yes and no, I guess, in that respect.
Yeah. Oh no, it just makes it much easier from not a control perspective, but from a schedule perspective, to keep things moving on. Because like you said, you want to do all these things, but an artist
controls me, Oliver. He controls me.
We'll talk about this.
Everyone
off air.
thinks he's super nice. He comes on here. He's got a beautiful smile. He's all happy, but behind the scenes, he's got the strings
Where
on
is this?
There's horns. There's horns under the cap.
That's it.
But how you found it? Like, you actually work on a lot more stuff than I do, Shaun. How have you been able to manage multiple things all at the same time?
I come crying to you all the time. How do I do this? No, I think the hardest part for me is that I've been blessed to work with some amazing artists, but they always seem to leave me. So, this week it was super great to see that my first artist, Jerry Gaylord, is actually working on the XMen 97 animated series that is going to come out by Disney. I've had Eddie Nunez do work for me, and he is working on the He-Man Masters of the Universe with Kevin Smith. And then Alexander Malashev, who, is working on my XCT series now, my second artist. He's been picked up by Ubisoft and is doing like comics for Assassin's Creed and everything. So I'm like, oh my God. Like I keep finding, and that, as I said, it's a good and a bad thing in regards to you get to work with some really high-end talent before they break into that next echelon, which makes your book look fantastic and makes it easier to sell and everything. But then the flip side of that is that ability to control your projects type of thing. So I guess for me, it is about what you were saying, Stephen, is if you can keep them busy and working and doing stuff for you, then it makes them less likely to pick up work elsewhere. Now, you're never going to begrudge someone if Disney or Marvel or someone comes and taps them on the shoulder and says, "Oh, we would really like you to work for us." I would never say, "Oh no, please don't go." But at the same time, it's good to have that. So I think most creators will understand the big thing behind that is time and money. So if you're able to, and I think that's what's great about Kickstarter, if you're able to get beyond that initial goal that you're putting out there, and this is what we kind of explain to people when they're backing the project, is that anything above that initial target goal, that then goes into the development of the next one. So the more we're able to raise at that initial outset, we're able to keep that artist going and that next project much quicker. So but I did take your advice. I've started to do a schedule, especially with so many projects now in the works, and especially with this current Kickstarter probably not doing as well as I would have hoped. It's really about making sure I'm on top of those pre-launch pages, getting people excited, communicating with that audience and kind of before I move on to the next one and so on and so forth.
Yep. So before we close off, look, I'm going to share the 13th label link into the chat right now. So again, if you haven't already seen it, please do check it out. It's got just about a week left to go, and it's a great looking project. And the concept is fantastic. It's the 13th label of Hercules. It's almost a modern retelling of the story. So I'm going to share it in the link. Let me share it out. So guys, if you haven't already seen this, please do check it out. And really would like to see it get funded. It's a really, really good looking project. And more importantly, the video is fantastic. I don't know if you want, we've got like 5 minutes left to go. I don't know if you want to show the video one last time, because it is an awesome video.
You don't have to ask me.
I'll just twist your arm here a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. Let's check out the video one more time. So,
hey everyone, my name is David Gay. This is Charlie, and welcome back to the 13th label. If you're new to the series, The 13th Labor is a fantasy sci-fi comic written by myself, illustrated by Arturo Mesa, and lettered by Tom Napolitano. Issue 1 found Greek demigod Hercules at the end of his 12 labors of atonement, but instead of finding forgiveness, Hercules was confronted with the sobering realization that years of labors had done nothing to ease his pain and suffering. Seizing his son's moment of uncertainty, Zeus tasked Hercules with the 13th labor, to travel thousands of years into the future in order to find and train his descendant for an upcoming intergalactic tournament of champions. But things didn't go as planned. Issue 2 brings us into modern times, where a mysterious teenage girl named Pippa draws the attention of Hercules and his babysitter Hermes. The 13th labor truly begins as we start to unravel the tragedy of Hercules and Pippa's intertwining sagas of loss and forgiveness. With exclusive art rewards by Arturo, including personalized sketches, variant covers, and full illustrations, now is the perfect time to join us on this mythic journey.
Come on, now who wouldn't want to back it after watching that? Like, come on. But yeah, we've got $970 to go in 7 days. So we can do it. I'm confident that we can do it. But as always, the grey and the beard start to come out now.
And I noticed your T-shirt, and we have to talk about this a little bit. How excited are you about XMen 97 coming back? It picks up from the original series.
Mate, my dogs are named Gambit and Rogue. So, I'm a massive X-Men fan. It's the whole reason why I got into comics in the first place as a kid. So, and I loved that animated series. I remember watching it on Cheese TV back in the day. You probably don't even know what that is, Oliver. The series before you went
I remember
to school
Cheese
in the
TV.
morning.
I remember.
Oh, you did? Oh, you do remember Cheese TV? Oh,
I
there you go.
remember that,
I feel so old now. So, yeah. But super excited about that. And, to know that, like, Jerry's going to be working on it is kind of, like, really cool that in some way I have some sort of connection to it. I know that's a far stretch, but I'm gonna take it. So,
more importantly, Ryan Reynolds stole the Deadpool suit. If you remember, he just basically walked out with it. If a couple of animation cells were to go missing, and just just saying,
it's all done digitally now these days.
NFTs.
No cells, or no? To keep the 97 style, they need to do at least a couple of cells.
Yeah, I would hope so. So I might just get him to commission something and then tell everyone, oh, look, this is off the X-Men 97.
This was an unused cell that they didn't use. But
it's got to be Gambit and Rogue, so,
No, I'm actually I'm really looking forward to that series. Like, out of all the Marvel announcements, and we're not going to go through all of them, that's probably the one that excited me the most, because it's so nostalgic in terms of I watched the entire series before, and knowing it picks up from where it left off, it just makes me happy.
I really liked the little trailer that they did, or introduction for Willow. And really played into how old the movie is, and all of the actors weren't even born when the first movie came out and everything. I thought that was hilarious. If you haven't seen that, go and check out the trailer to Willow. So I'm excited for that series as well. I love that, and it's a dark-haired Val Kilmer in it, and it's really good.
Anyway, look, we'll leave the last word to yourself, Oliver. Like, if there's people watching this who are interested in Awaken, how can they find you? Where can they click? What should they do? If I was, sell your book a little bit to the people who are listening.
I guess the most active platform we're on is Instagram. I think, can I put my link in the chat or something like that? Maybe.
Sure. Send it into the private chat, and I'll post it up for you.
Perfect. That's the best way to find us. We're taking pre-orders now for Volume 1, which we think about it's going to be mid-January next year. We should have it done and be sending it out. So a month and a half now. So check it out. So follow us on Instagram as well, and once we get the first one done, the first issue out and completed, we'll be moving on to the Kickstarter for the second. Thank you for having me on, boys. It's been fantastic. It's been good chatting to you.
What's your ad at Instagram? What's your Instagram name? I'll find it for you.
It is. I always get confused. It is Awaken.
Yep. Just Awaken.
Underscore the official. Underscore the underscore official, I should say.
Not a problem. I will make sure to share it right now before we close off. 1 second.
And tell Will we missed him. We missed him.
Yeah, I'm so shattered he couldn't be here. He would love this so much. But yeah, well, next time.
Yeah, 100%. That just gives us another excuse to get you guys back on again. So,
yes, it does.
You know. So, but guys, if you haven't seen Awaken, make sure you check it out. Definitely make sure you follow their page. If you don't know, also on Kickstarter, there's a follow along button. So if you haven't backed the first Kickstarter, you can still follow along, and that'll notify you when they launch their next one as well. So that's a really good tip for any other creators out there as well. But thank you so much for your time, mate. I really appreciate it. Congratulations again on all of your success. We look forward to being a part of that moving forward, and maybe seeing what else you guys can produce and come up with as well. So Stephen, did you want to say anything else before we close out tonight?
No, I'm good. And look, please check out the 13th Labor before it finishes, because it's a great looking project. And hopefully Fractured Shards 2 is coming very soon, and we'll have much more cool news about that coming up.
Yes, I was going to announce it tonight, but Dan is going to do a special announcement on Monday. So, which is it's not tomorrow or tomorrow for us. It's probably the day after, because he's in the US. So if you don't follow him on Instagram, check it out. He's going to be doing something very special there. So we're not allowed to say anything video. So it'll be really good. But thank you so much, guys. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We go live every Sunday night at 10 p.m. We hope you have a great weekend and week, and we will see you all guys next time.
Bye.